Donald Trump went silent today, all day, about the scandal he is now drowning in because of his relationship with a child rapist, a rich child rapist, raper of children, who was found dead in his cell in a federal prison in Manhattan, awaiting trial, federal trial for sex trafficking charges in a prison that was controlled by Donald Trump's Justice Department at the time. Donald Trump is the only president in history who has had such a friend, who he is now claiming was not his friend. J.D. Vance went silent today about Donald Trump's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The last thing J.D. Vance said about it last night was the worst thing J.D. Vance could have said last night. J.D. Vance, in a social media post, demanded the release of the letter that the Wall Street Journal wrote an article about last night, which it says bears Donald Trump's name and is a birthday letter to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003 that ends with the line, "May every day be another wonderful secret." Donald Trump has not demanded the release of that letter. Donald Trump spent the whole day not demanding the release of that letter. And then tonight, when Donald Trump filed a lawsuit in federal court in southern Florida, suing the Wall Street Journal and its owner, Rupert Murdoch, Donald Trump's lawsuit does not demand the release of that letter. And Donald Trump's social media post tonight at 6:51 p.m. announcing the lawsuit, calling it an historic legal action, does not demand the release of that letter. But Donald Trump does say in that post, "I hope Rupert and his friends are looking forward to the many hours of depositions and testimonies they will have to provide in this case." And Rupert is hoping that his friend Donald is looking forward to the same thing. Donald Trump's lawsuit, if he continues to pursue it, would require that Donald Trump submit to a videotaped under oath deposition in which Rupert Murdoch's lawyers can ask Donald Trump all about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. They can ask Donald Trump under oath why Jeffrey Epstein said on tape, "I was Donald's closest friend for 10 years." And they can ask Donald Trump under oath why he said publicly that "I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy." In an interview with New York Magazine, Donald Trump said that. And they can ask Donald Trump under oath why he said publicly that Jeffrey Epstein is a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. Donald Trump can be asked about all of that under oath. Donald Trump, if he continues to pursue this lawsuit, will be asked under oath, how many of them were on the younger side? How many of the ones you saw, Mr. Trump, were on the younger side? Donald Trump will be asked under oath how young they were. Donald Trump will be asked under oath, why did you say that many of them are on the younger side? Donald Trump has used the presidency before to avoid depositions and will surely get the help of the United States Supreme Court, if necessary, to do that again. And so there is no reason to expect any progress in this lawsuit for the rest of the Trump presidency. But the lawsuit Donald Trump filed tonight, if pursued, would be much more dangerous to Donald Trump and the experience that he would have in an under oath deposition than it would be to Rupert Murdoch. And the Wall Street Journal is reporting tonight on the lawsuit filed against the newspaper. The Wall Street Journal says, Trump for years has been a frequent litigant against media outlets, filing suits against a range of leading newspapers and networks. A number of his cases have been dismissed at early stages. Public figures face a high legal bar. In defamation litigation, Supreme Court precedent requires them to prove a defendant knowingly published a false statement or acted with reckless disregard for the truth. Donald Trump seems to love to face questions from reporters. And I say face questions, not answer questions. He seems to love the attention. He seems to love being on camera. And he has absolutely no fear of ever being cornered by a reporter because he never feels himself under any obligation to actually answer the question that was asked, and usually says something completely irrelevant to the question and can go on at great lengths inventing crazy things about his uncle having a relationship with the Unabomber, his uncle, the professor, having the Unabomber as a student, which was complete fiction and insanity dreamed up by Donald Trump in one of his public speaking derangement moments. But none of that today. Nothing from Donald Trump today. Not a word spoken in the direction of a reporter. Donald Trump is terrified of those questions. The guy who is afraid to answer White House reporters' questions today is never going to agree to answer under oath questions about the same thing. That's what we know about Donald Trump. There's nothing Donald Trump works harder to avoid than under oath questions, and that's why the Wall Street Journal's report tonight about the lawsuit reminds you a number of his cases have been dismissed at early stages, and a number of Donald Trump's lawsuits have been dropped by Donald Trump so that he never has to testify under oath in depositions in those lawsuits. A lot of them are just stunts that go nowhere and are intended to go nowhere. A lot of Donald Trump's lawsuits are designed to get him through the news day. Donald Trump's lawsuit refers to the letter reported by the Wall Street Journal as, quote, the non-existent letter. Donald Trump, no doubt, made sure that his vice president shut up very quickly last night after demanding to see the letter. And now Donald Trump takes the legal position, in effect, under oath in his written filing, that it is a, quote, non-existent letter. The letter does not exist. That's the new defense. In his social media post last night, he said that he called up Rupert Murdoch and told him that the letter was fake. Rupert Murdoch has already lost over $700 million in lawsuits because of Donald Trump. Rupert Murdoch lost $767 million judgment for lying about voting machines for Donald Trump. Rupert Murdoch knows that he can lose lawsuits because he's done it before. Rupert Murdoch is a 94-year-old billionaire on his fifth wife who does not want to lose a lawsuit again. Rupert Murdoch knew that Donald Trump was threatening to sue when Rupert Murdoch approved the Wall Street Journal running this story. Last night, in his social media post, Donald Trump said that Rupert Murdoch, quote, stated that he would take care of it, but obviously did not have the power to do so. That was his attempt, I guess, to insult Rupert Murdoch. And I told you on this program last night that Rupert Murdoch can prevent anything from being published in the Wall Street Journal. Yes, he does have that power. And in Donald Trump's lawsuit today, Donald Trump tells a different story, saying that Rupert Murdoch authorized the publication of the article after President Trump put them on notice that the letter was fake and non-existent. Rupert Murdoch had 2 days, 2 full days, to slow down and think about publishing this article after being threatened with a lawsuit by Donald Trump. The Trump lawsuit says that on Tuesday afternoon, counsel for President Trump sent an email to defendants advising that the intended article was false in claiming that President Trump authored the purported letter, which he did not, and further warned Dow Jones to cease and desist from publishing, disseminating, or otherwise distributing such information because it was false and defamatory. None of the defendants responded to the email. Donald Trump's lawsuit now says that the article was published, quote, at the direction of Defendant Murdoch. And Defendant Murdoch is a much better businessman than Plaintiff Trump. And so we have to ask ourselves tonight, how willing was Rupert Murdoch to just recklessly allow that story to be published? How much proof would Rupert Murdoch's lawyers insist on providing to Rupert Murdoch to allow that story to be published in the 2 full days that Rupert Murdoch had to decide what to do about publishing this article after Donald Trump personally threatened to sue him? The Trump lawsuit identifies specific defamatory statements, and one of the specific defamations the lawsuit claims is that the article is reporting that the article was, quote, falsely claiming without substantiation that President Trump is a friend, pal, or family of Epstein. Jeffrey Epstein claimed in a recorded interview during the first year of Donald Trump's presidency to be Donald Trump's closest friend. He said he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. Donald Trump proudly told New York Magazine that he's known Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years and Jeffrey Epstein's a terrific guy. And Donald Trump said all of that to New York Magazine in the very same year that Jeffrey Epstein raped at least one 14-year-old girl who came forward to tell the story of her suffering. And that 14-year-old girl, that girl who was 14 then, has never once heard a word of sympathy from Donald Trump about what she suffered at the hands of the child rapist who Donald Trump called a terrific guy at the very same time that Jeffrey Epstein was committing those crimes. Evidence in the case against Epstein indicates he was committing those crimes for the entire 15 years that Donald Trump claims Jeffrey Epstein was a terrific guy. But now Donald Trump is claiming that it is false to say he was a friend or a pal of Jeffrey Epstein. That shows you just how impossible it would be for Donald Trump to ever take questions under oath in this lawsuit. It's on video. They look like friends in that video. Plaintiff has been damaged. That's what line 65 of the 18-page lawsuit complaint says. Plaintiff has been damaged. Donald Trump has been damaged. Donald Trump is damaged. So says his lawsuit. There are people who have reputations in this world that cannot be damaged, because the person who lives with that reputation, the person who built that reputation, has damaged it so badly himself that it isn't possible to add more damage to that reputation. Is it possible to add to the damage of Donald Trump's reputation after Donald Trump did this, in his own words, to his reputation?
I don't even wait. And when you're a star, they let you do it. You can do anything.
Whatever you want.
Grab them by the I can do anything.
The plaintiff has been damaged. That's what Plaintiff Trump's lawsuit says. Donald Trump has always been the only person on this earth who Donald Trump can feel sorry for. That's the damage Donald Trump sees. The man who Donald Trump called a terrific guy did a lot of damage. Some of the girls who told their stories, told their tragic stories of what happened to them with Jeffrey Epstein, said that they knew that by the time they were 18, it was over, because they were too old for Jeffrey Epstein at 18, too old for the terrific guy. Jeffrey Epstein would ask them to find younger friends and bring those younger friends next time. That's who Donald Trump called a terrific guy. One girl's life was ruined in high school when she got a summer job in the year 2000 working at Mar-a-Lago. She was a locker room attendant in the spa. She wanted to become a massage therapist. So she was excited about her summer job. That's where she met Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, who is now serving 20 years in federal prison for sex trafficking with Jeffrey Epstein. This high school girl who got that job at Mar-a-Lago had been sexually abused earlier in her life. And so when it happened at Jeffrey Epstein's house in Florida, she said that she wasn't really surprised. Ghislaine Maxwell was in the room with Jeffrey Epstein the first time. And this high school girl said, they asked me to lick his nipples and give him oral sex, and Ghislaine was doing the same things that she asked me to do for him while touching me in my private areas as well. And then at the very end, they instructed me to get on top of Epstein, and that's how the night ended. She was asked why she went back. And she said, that answer is so complicated. I could have run, I should have run, I wish I ran, but fear was one. Fear of what happens. If I piss these bad people off, I know they're powerful. And one way you know they're powerful is by who you saw with Jeffrey Epstein in those days. One way you know they're powerful is that New York Magazine does a profile of Jeffrey Epstein in 2002, and people like Donald Trump, the owner-operator of Mar-a-Lago, are quoted saying he is a terrific guy. And now Donald Trump says that he has been damaged. That girl who was afraid of what those powerful people could do to her never recovered her balance. She took her own life 3 months ago at the age of 41, but Donald Trump says he has been damaged. That's what Donald Trump thinks is the damage of the Jeffrey Epstein story.